privatisation with us. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for blocking the bridge today to save the NHS. My name is Chris Coltrane. Give me a cheer if you've been to a UkUncut protest before. A lot of people give me a cheer if it's your first time. Oh, what a mix of people. You're all very welcome. Let me let you know what goes on at these protests. We are UkUncut. We started about a year ago when Vodafone started dodging tax. We found out that they dodged £6 billion of tax. Boo, exactly. So we went into their shop and we sat down, we occupied it and we shut it down for the day. That spread around the country. Then we occupied Boots, we occupied Topshop, we occupied banks, we turned them into libraries, we turned them into school sports days, and today we are here to save the NHS from the Tories. This is going to be absolutely amazing. We've got some brilliant comedians for you. We've got Mark Thomas, we've got Josie Long, we've got a load of people here absolutely going to love. Oh, let me tell you, we have got not 8, not 9, not 10, but 7 fantastic acts we are absolutely going to adore. We're going to crack straight with the first act. Before we do, I need to just put down some rules. We've got a lot of people here. I need to let you know there is no laughter in this gig, all right? Laughter takes too much admin. It shows to the police that we're doing something bad. So don't laugh. Instead, we're going to use consensus voting for jokes. So if you like a joke, just do this. Right, do that, okay? If you don't like a joke, just do that. Normally this means there's a technical point. You consensus fans will know this. Today, this means if you want to do just an impression of Mr. T, just do that. Then go up on the stage. And if you want to call David Cameron a dickhead, just shout it out. Point it out, just shout dickhead. What a feeling. Alright, let's crack straight on with the first act. This is Tiernan Douieb. Anyone who's been to one of our protests before and has come to the comedy is going to know this is an absolutely brilliant comedian. You're going to love him. Let's get some noise from everyone here and welcome Tiernan Douieb. Hi people, how are we doing? We alright? Yeah! Thank you for being out here. You're amazing people. Thank you very much. I should apologise before I start. I've sort of scrawled some things for today, but along with the theme, I'll pretend they're my medical notes, and we should be fine. The NHS means quite a lot to me because since I was 4 years old, I have been a type 1 insulin-dependent diabetic. Yay! Yeah! Jealous? No! None of you are. It's an alright illness to have. There's lots of very good plus points. Like, for a start, thousands of people every weekend to have a good time will spend money on drugs, whereas I could have one packet of jammy Dodgers and the best time of my life. So it's been alright. But thanks to the NHS, recently I've become a sort of bionic man diabetic with a diabetic pump that probably a few of you can see. And this is supposedly the future of diabetes, but it primarily runs using Bluetooth, which no one has had since the 90s. I live in constant fear I'll be in a bar or a nightclub and somebody will have an old Nokia phone and go, oh look, Tiernan's pancreas is in the room. But despite that, they pretty much, there we go. They pretty much kept me alive, the NHS. There we go. The NHS has pretty much kept me alive, and I find it disheartening that it's now in the hands of Andrew Lansley, a man who looks like he's had his own hair superimposed onto his face. And by no means the scariest of the Tories. Every time George Osborne's on telly, I expect a fly to go past me and to go, no. He's horrible, And Michael Gove does indeed look like a ventriloquist dummy who's been brought alive with a gypsy curse. But Andrew Lansley, despite not looking the weirdest, is one of the most horrendous because the health legislation, when he brought in the new health legislation earlier in the year, he had help writing it from people from McDonald's, representatives from Pepsi Cola, from Walker's Crisps, from Unilever. Those people are now in charge of the UK's health. That's ridiculous. That's like going to Ryan Giggs for marriage counselling. It doesn't make sense. And now he's decided he's not going to listen to hundreds and thousands of healthcare professionals, which is just bizarre. The people that know what they're doing, the people that save lives, he has decided to ignore their word. You wouldn't do that with any other profession, would you? You wouldn't go to firefighters and go, look, I know what you're saying, but we're going to start throwing paint at it. It doesn't make any sense. He's an idiot. And, if this continues to happen, what's going to become of the NHS if this bill goes through? Where private companies are allowed to send people with other qualifications to become in charge of our healthcare. You'll go to an ophthalmologist only to find instead you've got an Apple eye doctor. That isn't what we want. They'll start telling us that a Mars a day will help us work, rest and play instead of any kind of medical care. Even on a much smaller scale, it could completely ruin things in terms of the sexy doctors and nurses games that some people play at bedtime. Instead of any kind of enjoyment, there'll just be two people there looking very sad, thinking of all those who've died because they couldn't afford the costs. should point out that I know that this is sort of an extremist view that I have, but I've got quite a childish imagination. And the problem is when you have a childish imagination, every little thing you hear, you can only take it, every little thing the government do, you can only take it to its worst possible dystopian climax. Like every little tiny thing that the government gives us that you think is good, if you really think about it and work around it and look at everything else they're doing, you realise it just ends up being horrible. Like last year, early last year, when they said that they were going to put some money into the early school education system, some people said, oh, well done, the Tories are maybe doing something good. But actually, if you look at that and you think, well, all those kids are going to grow up being well educated, but then they want to get into higher education, but they won't be able to afford the costs. And then instead they'll try and get a job, but there won't be many of those because of all the job cuts. And they won't have anywhere to live because all the housing benefits have been cut. And they'll be angry and they'll be frustrated and sort of roaming around wondering what to do because 70% of youth services have been cut and the BBC licence fees have been frozen and cut again, and the Arts Council, Film Council has gone down. So perhaps they'll get angry and start getting violent, but police force have been cut, and prisoners' tendency have gone down, and if anyone gets injured, of course, the hospitals may be completely fucked and ambulance services have been gone. So all I'm saying is I'm going to buy a gun because I have seen Mad Max. And people, that is not the future I want. I wanted a future with hoverboards. If this bill goes through, Parliament are going to have no responsibility for the NHS. No responsibility at all. It'll all be through the NHS commissioning quango. They won't be allowed to even mention it within Parliament. They have to be silenced. And that's horrendous. We can't have a government that's not taking responsibility for it. They don't. It's always someone else's fault. It's always somebody else's responsibility. They're always blaming someone else. Oh, it's the last government's fuck up. That's why it's all gone wrong. Oh, it's the people's fault. We've all got debt. That's not how blame works. You can't blame something on someone if you're not making it any better. It doesn't work like that. You know, why are you pissing on the sofa? Oh, the last owner spilled red wine on it. His fault. You can't do that. It's ridiculous. In Cameron's speech last week, cycle faster! Is it a mechanical problem? How loud? Can you hear me if I shout? Yeah! I'll try and bring it back, but if not, I'll shout. Cameron's speech last week in what was the last of the party conferences, all three of which did not give me any hope in the world. The Lib Dem conferences said that the Lib Dems were a party of heart and mind, but of course that means they still don't have a backbone. In Cameron's speech, he said one of the most awful things. He has completely given up responsibility in any way. He said that he is going to use his power of leadership to help us to utilise our leadership skills. That's essentially saying, aha, you do it all, plebeians, I'm off on holiday, dickheads. That is not right. It was one of the many awful things he said, along with saying that the Tories will become a family-friendly party. If you want them to become family-friendly, you've got to stop hiring people that look like children's nightmares. My favourite thing that he said on that day that proves we truly have a Prime Minister. Oh, there we go, we're back. Yay! Well done, thank you. He's going to die in a minute. We need a queue of good cyclists coming up. The worst thing that Cameron said that proves that truly our PM is going nuts, I don't know if you heard his speech, but he said the phrase, it's not about the size of the dog in the fight, it's about the size of the fight in the dog. What does that even mean? Does this mean we have a Prime Minister whose next tactic in war is to send a large Trojan dog into Libya? Does this mean that now fox hunting has been banned, Tories are so bored they're sticking their fists up dogs and punching each other? What does it mean? I will leave you with this, ladies and gentlemen. I don't have any good ideas really of how we can save things, but if this bill does go through, and I really hope it doesn't, but I know how things are working so far. If this does go through, I suggest we've got a couple of tactics. One is that we find out exactly where David Cameron and Andrew Lansley have their private hospitals. Then we save up all the money we can and we all enlist in those private hospitals, and we make those private hospitals have exactly the same waiting times as all the NHS hospitals. That would fucking show them. The other, perhaps more difficult one would be that, considering how easy it's going to be for unqualified doctors and people that don't deserve to be working in the NHS to get qualifications, I suggest we all become surgeons and again find out where David Cameron and Andrew Lansley have hospitals. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been amazing. Thank you for coming out.